value. I propose that everything that we do is determined by value. Is this something worth what it's going to cost me? The easiest example would be with purchasing, the exchange of my money for your goods and services. When I do, what I am saying is that your goods and services are worth more than, are a higher value than anything else I can buy with that money. It's also worth more than the work required to earn that money. But that's true not only with the things we buy, it's also true with what we do. I am willing to do good deeds, to put forth some effort, even to endure some sacrifice if the good results are more than the personal cost to me. The flip side of that coin is also unfortunately true, that I'm willing to do bad deeds if the probable payoff, if the probable pleasure is worth more than the potential repercussions. We keep buying things. We keep doing things, both good and bad, as long as the value I receive is greater than the cost that I have to give. When that's no longer the case, we stop. That's simple human psychology. Before every decision that I make, before every word that I speak, before every action that I do, I am weighing these values in the scales of the mind. How we determine those values and whether we assess them well or not, that's a different question. The next logical step of this homily, the direction that we would presume that it ought to go, is for me to claim that Jesus Christ is our highest value and that we should choose him. And of course, that's true. Liturgically speaking today, we have a number of examples of that. The first one being John the Baptist. We hear in our gospel about his arrest, and we know that that arrest will lead to his imprisonment, and that his imprisonment will eventually lead to his execution. What John is saying with his life is that preaching the truth, is that fulfilling his mission of being the precursor or the forerunner of the Messiah is worth more than his freedom, worth more even than his life. We see another example when Jesus goes off to encounter two sets of brothers, James and John, Andrew and Simon, while they're at work. And he extends to them an invitation, come after me. He is placing before them a choice to choose him, to see him as a higher value than the work that they do, than the money that they earn, even more than the family obligations that they have. We are not given any particular insights into the workings of their mind, but we are told how long it takes for them to deliberate this decision, to weigh out the values in the scales of their mind. For it says, at once, immediately, they dropped their nets. They left their livelihood. They left their security. They even left their families and followed after him. The third example that we see today in the conversion of St. Paul. This is the patronal feast of our parish, and so we transferred it from Wednesday to today so that we could celebrate as a community. But St. Paul was the next hot ticket of his day. He had rock star status for the way in which he understood the law and that he followed it in his life. So respected was he, so trusted was he, that he was given what amounted to a license to kill, or at least a license to imprison those who were contravening the law. If he followed along this path, he would have had fame, he would have had fortune, he would have amassed a following. But what does he say? I count all things as lost. All things as lost. Everything that I have gained thus far, everything that I still hope to gain in the future, I count all things lost for the surpassing worth of knowing Jesus Christ, my Lord. For his sake, I will suffer the loss of all things, and even more, count it as so much rubbish, even as so much refuge, that I may gain Christ Jesus. The moral of that homily When we look at these men, John the Baptist or Paul, James or John, Simon or Andrew, they chose Christ because they saw his exceedingly high value, and so should we. A higher value than, well, all other things. But I would like to start a little bit before that, to take a step back, because there might be some among us, perhaps many among us, who are not yet able to choose Christ, who are not yet able to see his value because they do not yet see their own. What would he want with me since I have nothing to offer to him? In our gospel today, we hear where Jesus starts his ministry, where he goes out to encounter those two sets of brothers, where he begins to recalibrate their value system. It says that he goes into the land of Zebulun and Naphtali. These were once two cities on the very northern frontier of Israel. And therefore, they were the first two cities to be invaded, to be occupied, to be destroyed by the Assyrian army as it moved south. This is the place in the head where the poison was first introduced as it then filtered down through the body. This is the place where the people began to be imprisoned to a foreign power. But in Jesus' day, these cities had not existed for nearly 800 years. And this is precisely the place that he goes. He goes to the very heart of the problem. He goes to its very source to begin to rewrite their story. He plunges into the deepest and the darkest parts of their history, and there he begins to shine his great light. He plunges into the deepest and the darkest parts of our history, the places where we have gone to be imprisoned by foreign powers, where those poisons have begun to be interjected into our heads and then filtered down through the body. He goes to those places to begin to rewrite our story, to begin to recalibrate our value systems. Last week, I was helping out at a high school retreat. One of the young ladies was sharing with me her feelings, her experiences with jealousy. I'm jealous of what other people have. I'm jealous of what other people look like. But in reality, she was sharing with me a deeper message. For underneath what she said, she was sharing with me the measure of her self-worth, or more to the point, the measure of her self-worthlessness. She was saying, I'm not pretty enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not skinny enough. Maybe I'm not blonde enough, or I'm not smart enough, I'm not rich enough, I'm not popular enough, I'm not good enough. Maybe we could add a few characteristics ourselves. Maybe I'm not young enough. Maybe I'm not healthy enough, mobile enough. I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. Where did you get those ideas? From social media, from the internet, from other people? Well, if it's the social media, if it's the internet, if it's the news, if it's some group of people that keeps bringing you into this place of misery, if you're exchanging your time and in return all you're getting is beaten up, then stop it. That's just simple human psychology. And yet we keep going back to our vomit like dogs. Stop going back to it. It's like going to a doctor and saying, Doc, it hurts when I poke myself in the eye. Well, what's the prescription for feeling better? Stop poking yourself in the eye. But there's something even more important, a deeper question that needed to be answered in this girl's life, deeper than uncovering the lies that she had begun to believe. And so I asked her, where does your value really come from? What is your life worth? She looked at me a little puzzled, so I pushed on. If you had to put a price tag on your life, what would it be? $20? $50? $100? She said, I don't know. Do you know? Do you know what your price tag would be? Do you know what your life is worth? Are you able to assess a price? Well, he does, and he did. When he freely, when he willingly, when he lovingly exchanged his life for yours. When he climbed upon that cross, he gave you a value. He put a price tag on your life. He said, this is how much you're worth, and you are enough. And he didn't make a mistake. He didn't miscalculate. Where else do we hear something like that? And not only hear somebody saying it, but hear somebody willing to do it. In comparison to what he gives to us, giving up our fish-smelling nets seems like such a small price to pay. You are not determined by the way you look or by the things you have. You're not determined by what you do, what you've done, or what's been done to you. So stop looking at the internet. Stop looking to other people. Stop looking to yourself and to your past to determine your identity, to determine your value, and start looking at him. He is the one who gives you your identity. He is the one who tells you who you are, who gives you a value by the price that he is willing to pay to draw you back to himself. So let's not give ourselves away too cheaply. He says that our price is worth more than, well, everything else. We cannot choose him or know his value for us until we begin to know and believe that we are chosen and to know our value for him.